So then, we are back with the more understandings from the Renewed Covenant, from the Aramaic English translation of the Word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of Israel, from the prophets of old, giving us then the proper bearings of the future and how we should relate with the prophecies of the end. And the Messiah always spoke with his people, the set apart, indicating their responsibilities. So then we can understand what he was then informing them of these responsibilities, because the Messiah himself was very responsible, and he came to complete the spring feast, and then he would give his own life in order for the Gentiles then to come and being part of the faith, or then believing in the Messiah and then remaining loyal to his lifestyle. And regarding then the set apart, those we understand, those should remain in the holy cities, and those were very popular sites during the time after the Yahanan, the Shaliach. So then we begin to understand this end of times, where then we find the prophecy of Yisrael, the chapter 1:8. We find then the site of the city in the land of Cush, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, where it is the site of the holy city, of the many cities. So then we begin to understand what it means, the returning of the holy cities, because the second 1,000 years, then 1,000 granted for the deceit, those are then done away with, and then we are returning to the truth. And in order for the cities then to return, they must be in a place where no lie is found, and tabernacling then Yahweh himself, tabernacling amongst the fears. As it was explained before, the word tabernacling is very specific, and it is a word related with a particular place where then the divine presence would be found. It's not a person. So then later the Greco-Romans, they made a mistake because they did not understand the meaning of the word tabernacle. There is no such situation where then some sort of a spirit from the divine inhabits the person. That's absolutely not true. They don't understand the original language, and they don't understand what it means tabernacling. Has to have a divine presence in a specific place. Without the tabernacle, the actual tabernacle, on a specific place, then they can't have tabernacling. However, during the time of Shaliach Shaul and then the other Shlishim, they were living during the time of the transition from the first service and the second service. So then Ruach HaKodesh, he had to have his influence upon the people, but not in the people. There is no such situation where then the Ruach HaKodesh then lives in a person. He influenced the person from the outside. But then the situation became very complicated because the Greco-Romans, they were very demoniacs. And demons, they live in people and not outside. However, Ruach HaKodesh has an influence on the outside and then directing from the outside. Because the word tabernacling is specific of a place where then you find the divine in the Holy of Holies. So the whole understanding then from tabernacling, it's absolutely old, but at the same time new. New for many people because they were born during the time of deceit. However, the cities are returning, and each of the cities must have the tabernacle in order for the Messiah to live in the Holy of Holies. And these are taking place, and we understand in the land of Cush would be then a place of tabernacling of the many others. So then people should be encouraged to maintain what the Messiah told them and show up at the gates of the cities as often in order to receive ministrations. The set apart, however, the Messiah told them, go around the world and form holy cities. And they already have the site where it should be, in the land of Cush. That's where then the tabernacling is going to take place from the many other cities that shall be built. And then the rest of the world, they must get busy, because the Chinese system is coming, and lots of trade, lots of money to be made, and then people being busy in the system, making a living, paying their dues, being then busy with everyday living, while then the divine has its purpose. So then Shaliach Shaul was then teaching his people. He was delegating the responsibility, and he was never directing words to the Gentiles. If you begin to observe the scripture very closely, you don't find him speaking with the Gentiles very often. He always is speaking with the set apart, because they were then the people to receive delegations of responsibilities. And those, obviously, they must speak the Hebrew language, because they must have a reference with the divine language. And we Gentiles, we report at the gates of the cities for further ministrations. So that's where it's at. So far then, the prophets have indicated us, for instance, Yeshayahu, Zechariah, Ezekiel, Daniel, of the time of this end. So then, what is our understanding amongst ourselves? We should then be very concerned with the directives of this country, because so far we are trying to build a statue of gold. And sure enough, if this country does not make the proper course of action, and if we get in a high and mighty junkie, ended up being as king of Babylon, trying to make the statue of entire gold, only because he thought he was high and mighty, and there we are again, elections, and we're trying to put out new policies around the world and trying to gain the world as we used to gain in the past, and it's not going to work. So Daniel the prophet gave them the prophecy, he gave the interpretation of the dream, and yet Babylonian king was then caught up by power and by prestige and by popularity, and he decided to make entire statue of gold. And it did not work. Here we are, understand the prophecies of Yeshayahu, then Ezekiel, then Daniel, then Zechariah. And then we are having evidences of what the Messiah told them to do. We find the countries then in trouble these times, and we find that China, with a vast military position, can contribute to maintain the peace around the globe while they invest in their systems, so then the world can start prospering. Yet the United States is trying to be as then Babylonian king. It is such a ridiculous place of the United States that at the moment it's simply stupid. Not understanding the times and the seasons. For a person who knows the prophecies and understands then what is going on and the provision Yahweh has given, and then watching what some of these candidates want, it's absolutely stupid. It's precisely what then Daniel was explaining to the king. Step by step, he was explaining, you are the head of gold, then comes then the silver, and then the other metals, each of those then understanding as a kingdom. And at the moment we find ourselves over there in the land of Israel, trying to do some military exercise. Absolutely nonsense. Those leaders over there, they are nonsense. They don't understand the times. They don't understand the seasons. They don't understand the scripture. They don't understand the seasons related with the scripture. Why are they going to do exercise for? What are they giving in exchange? They are kids playing around with dangerous weapons. That's what they are. They don't understand the plan of Yahweh. Yahweh wants a plan that then brings trade amongst the nations for rebuilding. We are doing the time of rebuilding. And our military is acting as kids. Kids with dangerous weapons. We have no industry to give anymore. Our country is in trouble. We don't have any directives to give. What are we doing over there? They're trying to defend Israel's right to exist. They are a sovereign nation. They can defend themselves. In order for us to join up with their military, it has to have a reason behind. We have then must, at any cost, then promote trade. And the only way we can do this is by requesting the Chinese Navy to do patrols in the Gulf and around the area where the Middle East is at. Then we are proclaiming to the world we want trade and we are not interested in your wars. And then inviting the president of Iran to go to UN so then he can make his terms and verify what can be done. Then justifies a short, brief exercise. Not before. What do they have available to trade with? It's nothing. They are simply defending Judaism. That's what the other nations are observing around. The United States became then a Judaism, then adopted Judaism in the entire country. This is how the other nations are reading. They are not reading, oh, you are defending Israel the right to exist. That's not the way they think. And since we are broken, our economy is in bad shape. We don't have much to give to the other nation in terms of trade. And we are a nation, and then the other nations, they perceive us as defending Judaism. Protecting religion. Well, why are their religion more important than ours, they are thinking. And then on top of it, we try to come out with more policies around the world. Do you think they're going to receive it? But then, our leaders are not very smart. They don't understand the times and the seasons. And they go around playing around with the war games. What is the advantage of being there exercising with them? They are defending Judaism. That's what the other nations are reading. Then that's the problem with the military. Military sometimes when they are not guided properly by the word of Yahweh, then they become kids with dangerous weapons. Generals and admirals, the whole bunch. They are scoundrels, idiots. They don't understand what they are doing. Do they understand the word of Yahweh? They don't have a clue of it. Yeah, they are over there and trying to be big shots over there in the midst of the most troublesome part of the world. Ready to do exercise, showing you what? Are they promoting trade? No, we are barely having trade ourselves. And then the Chinese over there waiting to do their patrols over there and to help with the situation, and we want to be hiding mighty precisely as the king of Babylon was. The entire statue of gold. Oh, watch how the United States is going to resolve the problem. We are going to ruin our economy. What do we find in the word of Yahweh? Revelation the 8th chapter. Then you find the third part of the ships leading the trade of the market. You find then the market is led by China. But then they are so mighty and high, they don't think they have any scripture, or they are above the scripture. Are they not? If you want to know who Satan is, watch the United States doing this stupidity around the world. going to Israel, doing military exercise, not promoting trade, and defending Judaism. Israel is a sovereign nation. They have weapons. They can defend themselves. Begin to read the scripture. In order for the justification of this military exercise, we should, must, and have, and we ought to have the Chinese Navy on waters. Then we indicate we want trade. We are not interested in war. We are interested in war in Iran. We are not interested in war in Syria. Not interested in any place else. We have our own troubles. But then we indicate, enough with your nonsenses in terms of these nations warring against each other, because he always said it's time of rebuilding. War is prohibited. And then we promote trade. When they observe over there, oh, that Chinese ships on water, they want trade. Then they step back. See, we don't know how to do war anymore. We spend a whole lot of deal of money and materials, and we do not even understand the times and the seasons. You know, if these military leaders, they never had exposure to the true understanding of the prophecies from Hebraic or Aramaic, they should shut up. They don't understand the divine, do they? They are given those tiny Bible junkies that they get from Gideon's, maybe? Junky Greco-Roman translations. It is destroying us. Or are they not sensible enough to understand what's going on in Italy? Italy is broken. The Greco country is busted. We are busted. Isn't that enough? But they want to move forward with another plan. They're going to ruin our nation. Yahweh is very smart. And he placed the whole situation very plain, easy to understand. The problem is with this military, out of control. They want to show power of some sort where they don't even have an industry to back it up.